So now we go back to the end scene. So you have two older gentlemen who are shopping together in the background at a children's toy store. By the way, look at everyone in that scene. It's very odd. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something not right about it. There's a lot of adults in there, and they seem to be flowing in one direction, and families seem to be flowing in another. And I got to watch it a few more times, but there's something I feel like I'm missing there. Like, it doesn't match up for some reason. I don't know. I don't know what it is that's bothering me, but there's something about it. So I got to watch it again. But anyway, those two adult men are in the background looking at toys. She is sent off from the mother with a pad, and he taps her and says that, doesn't he say something like, I love you, or something like that? And he ushers her that way as well. They both engage her that way as she walks and leaves. And then the two of them talk, and they have the final closing scene where she talks about going home and, you know, the thing that they need to do to feel closer or whatever to have solution to this. But the little girl, if you watch, does walk away, does go to that area, and she doesn't look at the toy rack. She turns around and looks at her parents and then turns back, and then the camera cuts and you never see her again. I think that's very telling as far as what they were trying to, if you were trying to hint at something, that would be it. And the other thing is, throughout the earlier part, the parents are being guided by the daughter. She's walking around and they're following behind her. Then they choose to go down that aisle, and the daughter is following them because she walks up to them.
Yeah.
So before, they were in front, and the daughter's taking them around, and they're following around the toy store. But when it comes to a certain area, they tail off, and she comes up to them.
Right.
And then they both pat her, and they give her like this loving pat. It's almost like when you send your kid off to school, and you're talking or doing something, they're like saying, like a goodbye. Like, she didn't get down and hug her or do some big embrace, but it's like, again, just as a parent who has kids,
Yeah.
you know, that's like, okay, have a good day, or I'll see you later. It was like a drop off.
Yeah.
Just saying, as someone who has children.
Yeah.
And so that's, but the most interesting part about it is, again, they were following her in the initial, and then when they came to that one aisle, which was off camera, you couldn't see, that they turned to, she followed them, because then she walked up to them, they patted her on the back, he said something like, I love you, or said goodbye, so, not like goodbye, but said something to her like, I love you, I can't remember, and then, you know, like shook her shoulder, you know. Yeah, your kids are floating all over the place, you're usually letting them float. That's like a goodbying gesture, or like, at least like, go do your thing, we're talking. So I understand that. But I just find it odd that the entire time in the initial part of it, they're following her, and then when it comes to the part in question, she follows them. So they're now leading the procession into the toy store, into that aisle, and then the young girl is patted on her back. She starts heading towards those men. She looks back over her shoulder at her parents, in towards the camera, and then turns her head back towards the men, and the camera changes views to the first-person perspective.
And then this top comment was, I don't think this film is about trafficking. I think people are obsessed with trafficking.
Okay. It's about a form of trafficking, at least to one degree. You cannot argue the costume shop did not blatantly tell you that. Right. In two major scenes that had to do with the relevancy of him getting into the club and his removal of the club, or his outcome from going, at least. That marked the points of the club scenes, because it was his pickup of the uniform to get in, and it was him returning that uniform to get in. And at the beginning of his pickup of the uniform to get in, there was a child who was being trafficked to two individuals. And at the return of his uniform to get out or to be done with the event, there was a child who was there that they gave the impression had just recently had a visit with those same two individuals. And this time they paid, so there was no threat of calling the police. Trafficking has been happening for a long time, and we've been completely ignorant to it. And now it's being thrust upon us. And then you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it in these mentions and stuff. And then the retort is everything's trafficking. Well, you know, like the meme where it's like the spacemen following each other, like it's like it was trafficking the whole time, right? I really do. I see that as being the more likely case.